Yo, Brian Saff, your host, back again. This is the Talk and Play Blurcast. Thank you for tuning back in. If you read the title, you know what time it is. This is our video game talk for January 2022. If you've been paying attention to, the gaming world or shit, your stocks and all that, Microsoft has shaken the table with their recent, acquisition of Activision, Blizzard, King. Pretty sure you heard plenty of gaming podcasts and Twitch streamers and all kind of gaming content creators comment on it. Well, it's my turn. I have some questions and then, some regular updates on some games that I play and some that I probably won't be playing. But before that, I have an announcement to make. So let me just go ahead and play my theme music now so we can jump into the episode and we'll talk. Let's go. So before we get into everything, the announcement is I am a part of another show, a brand new show. This is Nerds Rule the World. I've partnered with them, me and my homie Webster Style. We have come together with Nerds Rule the World to form a gamer talk show, or not necessarily a talk show, but a gamer show where we talk about games and what's current in the gaming world. And we tend to focus on the new releases for the week. That's at the Nerds Rule the World YouTube channel. You just type that in the search bar, exactly how it is, Nerds Rule the World. Find the checkpoint or checkpoints. That's the name or the tentative names for the actual show. We're getting ready to drop our second episode. It's a good time. If you are a gamer like myself and, you enjoy my game talks or whatever, and, you want more of that, because I know I talk about a bunch of different things on my Talk and Play Blurcast, but this particular show with Webster Style for NRW is, focused specifically on games, and even more specifically, the new games that are coming out for the week. So if you want to hear me break down these new games coming out over the week, maybe play a trailer or two so you can see if you're interested or whatever, then, pull up to the YouTube channel. That's Nerds Rule the World. It's a red and white logo. You'll see it as soon as it pops up. It usually comes up first. Look for checkpoints or the checkpoint, like I said, tentative title, and press play. Subscribe to the channel as well. There's plenty of other dope nerd and geek content on there. Interviews with, industry insiders and people behind the scenes on various projects that span entertainment. Like, it's a really dope YouTube channel. So happy to be partnered with these individuals. So happy my homie Webster Style reached out to me and said, hey, I got a great opportunity for you. I think you would really kill this shit. Come fuck with me. I fuck with them. So we over there doing our checkpoints or the checkpoint or whatever we're going to call it thing. And we're having a good time. If you hop over to my Instagram or Twitter, you can find posts, whether it be in my stories or my Twitter feed or whatever, specifically giving you links and updated information for all the new episodes for the checkpoint specifically. And, of course, I will share Nerds Rule the World and their posts whenever, we drop new content and the other sides of the shows that we have underneath that banner. So, yeah, check us out. Nerds Rule the World, the checkpoint or checkpoints. I think we're going to go with the checkpoint, but we'll settle on that at a later date. Me, Webster Style, talking games, new releases. It's dope. Pull up. Outside of that, though, let's just go ahead and jump right into what I wanted to talk to you guys about, right? So obviously, if you're any kind of gamer, whether you be, hardcore or just you play on your phone or all you got is, PlayStation and you play Call of Duty and 2K all day, like, if you know anything about games, that or have heard the news that, Microsoft has bought, or they put in a bid to buy Activision, Blizzard, and King Games, which is a fucking huge deal. It's probably the biggest gaming deal to date. They are attempting to acquire it for, like $67 billion with a B. You know what I'm saying? 3 billion shy of 70 billion. Like, Microsoft dropped the bag for Activision Blizzard King, which, if you know anything about games, like I said, that's a big fucking deal. Activision, most known at this point in time for the Call of Duty series. Blizzard right now, you probably know them for like Diablo and Overwatch and World of Warcraft, which are all huge series in their own rights. And King Games, they own shit, or they're the developers for a lot of those mobile games that you have played at some point in your life just to pass the time. The most notable one being Candy Crush. Yeah, so all of those, heavyweight titles, including some other ones you might be familiar with, like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, they have all been purchased, or they're in the process of being purchased by Microsoft to be up underneath the Xbox banner. But like I said, if you know anything about the gaming world, you already knew that. I guess the most recent information to come from this story is the head of Xbox. His name is Phil Spencer. He's came out to reassure everybody that, this doesn't mean every game from underneath these particular studios and developers will be Xbox exclusive, nor will popular games like, Call of Duty and Diablo, whatever, be leaving PlayStation immediately after the deal is done, which supposed to be in about a year or so. If you're interested in more information outside of that, just do a quick Google search, or, go to whatever platform you trust gamer information to come from. And I'm pretty sure they'll have a complete breakdown there for you. My reason for bringing it up is because I had some questions now, not necessarily concerns, just some things that popped into my brain as I was digesting this information, right? So the first one being will this acquisition force Sony to reconsider or reestablish partnerships, or maybe even join with Disney in the film world as well as the gaming space? And the reason I bring this up is because, if you don't know, not too long ago, I want to say maybe a year or two ago, right before the pandemic kind of slapped us in the face, Disney was actually trying to buy Sony. They wanted to, reacquire, or not reacquire because they never really had it, but they wanted to gain the rights to, Spider-Man and all of the Marvel stuff that Marvel had licensed to them back in the day, because obviously Disney bought Marvel and Fox. So when they bought Fox, they got the rights back to X-Men and, some other Marvel things over there. And it got Hulu, and I think National Geographic was in that deal as well, and ESPN. Disney, they came with this same kind of energy, pulled up the biggest trump card ever, and just bought up everything that was popping in entertainment. Well, not everything, but for the most part. And honestly, Russ, since the acquisition happened, we've been getting some great things from Disney, most notably for us in the blurred space. The Marvel series that have been coming to Disney Plus, the Marvel movies that have made their way into theaters, even though COVID is still out here kicking ass. Even most notable, the partnership between Sony and Marvel to bring us Spider-Man No Way Home with Tom Holland. That whole Spider-Man franchise is a partnership between Sony and Marvel, and ultimately Disney, because Disney owns Marvel. And I just felt like Sony held on so tight to the Spider-Man rights or whatever. They was not trying to sell. They knew that at this point in the game, that is their biggest cash cow in their roster or whatever. So now that in the gaming space, Microsoft has made this incredibly large move to buy arguably the biggest or most popular gaming studios slash developers right now at the time, because Call of Duty is popular as fuck, and Blizzard has some amazing content over there. Overwatch has a very, very strong community. Diablo as well. World of Warcraft, people still play that shit like crazy. Like King Games, with Candy Crush, like I mentioned, and shit like that. Like they just made this big ass power move, and it just made me wonder, like, will Disney try to step in again and be like, hey, Sony, you just kind of took this huge hit over here in the gaming space, you know what I'm saying? How about we throw you some cash so you can make some big moves over there, and you just, come play for the winning team. It just made me think, just because Sony and Disney, have a relationship in the gaming space. We've gotten games like Kingdom Hearts and a few other like notable franchises from a Disney and Sony PlayStation like partnership or whatever. Marvel's Avengers or whatever, even though Square Enix, they are the developers and stuff like that, that's still technically like a Marvel property. They're utilizing Marvel characters in some licensing capacity, so there's a partnership there. So I'm wondering, like, damn, will this make Sony like reconsider things now that the gaming space has kind of been shaken up for them in a way to where they're gonna need to respond with something not big, but just like significant, in order for people to not continue to jump ship in lieu of this whole Microsoft acquisition with Blizzard, Activision, and King. Because if you pay attention to the stocks, man, Sony stocks have been like plummeting since Microsoft announced this acquisition. And I don't know, I don't know what Sony has in its bag of tricks to like counteract this or whatever, but I'm thinking like it might be a good time to like reconsider them turning down Disney when they was trying to, push them up underneath the Disney umbrella in the film space. Or, maybe just find a way to bring in some new Disney games, Sony mashups. I don't know. It's just a question that popped into my head. Also, it made me wonder, like, will this acquisition force Sony to focus more on creating games with gaming studios and companies it has under its own umbrella? Like, just last year, a few months ago, actually, they acquired a studio by the name of Blue Point Games, who is notorious at this point for remaking PS classics for like today's generation of consoles. And that came shortly after they disbanded the whole PlayStation Japan studio that was making games specifically for PlayStation or whatever. So I'm like wondering, like, will Sony be like, okay, they bought Activision and Blizzard and King and those like companies, those studios, those development houses, they focus more on games that have a huge multiplayer component or online component, like games that you probably won't have as much fun with if you don't have internet, because you need internet to play it online. Like they focus more on the multiplayer games or whatever. So I'm wondering, like, damn, will this make Sony be like, you know what, we need to revisit the fact that we at one point in time were like the best console for RPGs and single player games, and maybe put some money and effort and time and attention into bringing us some fire RPGs. We have a game coming out. Was it Forspoken or Forsaken? One of the two of those names is the correct name, that I'm very, very interested in playing. It stars a black woman as the main character who develops these magic powers and gets transported to this magic world and has to do things in this world to save it. So I like RPGs. I'm never going to shy away from those. Like the multiplayer games, the online games, they're really, really fun or whatever, especially when you have people that you could play it with that are not randoms, like people that that you could team up with and try to win these games. But I still really like sitting at the house, just on a single player game, or RPG, blasting music, getting lit and just enjoying, a great story by way of RPGs. So I'm wondering if this will kind of like reinvigorate Sony's passion for RPGs and give us some more and some exclusive ones at that. Some that, now that Xbox has made this huge play, some that just won't come to Xbox because they're like, nah, fuck you. Like, we gonna keep some games for ourselves now, like even more than we already have, because PlayStation exclusive games was killing Xbox exclusive games at one point in time, and shit, probably even still now. But I don't know. That was just something that came into my mind. Like, damn, since they just bought all of these companies that focus on multiplayer games, what it's like make Sony want to jump into the RPG space heavy and like really give us some new ones. Because Spyro and Crash that are now up under Xbox or the Microsoft umbrella, like those were two huge RPG, platformer franchises that like really held up PlayStation and gave it the boost over all these other consoles to be like one of the leading consoles in the world. And now they're gone. So what are we going to do, Sony? And then like, what does this mean for PlayStation globally? Like, PlayStation was the most popular console globally last year in 2021. I think they said like 56 or 57%, somewhere between 55 and 60% of people around the world own a PlayStation, as their primary gaming system or whatever. So I don't know, like, what does this mean for that statistic? Like, are people gonna like be like, oh, on the next Xbox, I'm gonna really, make way to the store and try to get that? Like, I don't know. What does this mean for the global ecosystem as far as PlayStation is concerned? Like, does this knock them off, or are they gonna continue to remain the most popular console in the world? Like, again, these are just questions that are popping into my head as I'm digesting the news of this extremely large acquisition that is shaking the gaming world. It's also made me wonder, like, is this acquisition good, like for real, or is it kind of low-key bad for Microsoft given the current legal troubles that Activision Blizzard are currently facing? If you don't know, you know what I'm saying, there's been some sexual assault, some, what they call it, frat boy culture or whatever, where like these white men at the very, very top of Activision Blizzard have really just been suppressing and oppressing all of the developers up under them, the women developers, especially the people of color developers, especially, black, brown people and shit like that. Like, they've really been on some like, y'all do as we say and we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want to do type of shit. And I don't know, they facing some major heat behind it right now. They cannot seem to shake it. Like, every other move they make, people are always like, don't forget, these motherfuckers is on trial for X, Y, and Z for doing shit like this, because the state of California is actually suing Activision Blizzard behind this shit. Plenty of Activision Blizzard, like, big dogs, top dogs in the company, they've either resigned or like publicly made statements trying to defend themselves against the accusations or whatever that are most likely true, because all of them people that work up under you couple of assholes cannot be lying on y'all. It just don't make sense. And they say this shit been going on for years. Like, there's trouble over there, like, definitely. And I wonder, like, will this be an issue for Microsoft? Because them buying that company means they have to take on that legal battle. And like, what does that mean? Like, are they gonna do the right thing and get rid of all of those assholes and like promote from within the people who deserve to be in those positions, who are doing the right thing as far as treating people fairly? Or is it gonna be a situation where more and more dirt is gonna come out and ultimately it's gonna make Microsoft look bad? Because how could you be in business with a company like that that's doing this kind of shit? I don't know. These are just things that are coming to my head, because I'm also wondering, like, with Activision Blizzard holding the space in gaming that they hold, you know what I'm saying, with the Call of Duty franchise and Diablo and Overwatch and World of Warcraft, like, these are all very, very popular games. They didn't really need to be sold or bought by Microsoft or whatever, but the fact that they did it, it kind of makes me wonder, like, there must be some like guilt over there. There must be some fire. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, right? So there must be a lot of truth to the claims. They must know, like, we have to do something or our company is going to sink once all of this shit finally hits the fan, because California is not going to let up. Like, they are suing this company, so they got enough evidence. That's government coming for you at this point. So it's like, is there a lot of truth to these claims? And are Activision and Blizzard gonna really be held accountable and held to the fire for all this shit? Because the things that definitely happened over there, like, why was it such a fast thing? Like, this news just came out of nowhere. So, like, is this not necessarily an admission of guilt, but is it like a let's jump off of this burning ship now while we still can and get some money on the way down to the ground? Like, I don't know. Like I said, these are just questions that are popping into my head as I'm digesting the news. This, like, deal also made me wonder, is it like good or low-key bad? Because, you know, like I said, Activision, Blizzard, King, they kind of focus on multiplayer game experiences or whatever, but that is not the only side of the gaming world. Yes, you know what I'm saying, it's a very popular side. It's definitely the most popular right now, but if you're anywhere near these communities, you know there's a lot of people within them that are like getting tired of the Call of Duty games. Like, the Overwatch community is fed up with all of the back and forth between, is Overwatch 2 coming out or is it not, and the state of the game currently Overwatch right now. People are tired of having to buy a new Call of Duty every 12 months, and you know there's plenty of issues with Warzone, and then the new Call of Duties that come out don't really hit like it used to when you was like playing Black Ops and Modern Warfare 3 and like Modern Warfare 2 and shit like that. Like, I don't know. I'm just wondering, is this like a good business decision? Because the communities and the consumers are ultimately the ones who make these titles valuable. So is it a good move? Like, are they gonna put out games that just make people be like, you know what, I'm off Call of Duty, I'm going over here to something else? Because that's talks right now within the community. People are like that. I'm like that. I don't play Call of Duty like that. Like, if my friends, you know, beg me enough, I might jump on there and run a few rounds with them or whatever. But ultimately, I don't really fuck with Call of Duty. Overwatch, I love. Like, I love Overwatch or whatever. But that's the only Activision Blizzard title that I could definitively say, like, I really fuck with and play, and I would be sad if something happens to it, to where I won't get any new updates or Overwatch 2 won't come out. Like, that is my shit. But I don't know, the rest of the communities or whatever, they really up and down with these games. It just makes me wonder, like, in maybe 3 or 4 years, like, would it still be a good business move, you know, with VR coming out and all kind of other shit coming out into the gaming world? Like, will this still be a good business move? Because will people still be playing these games like that? I mean, I know people will still be playing the games, but like, how much? And like, will it be will it be equitable to the tune of $67 billion? And then, you know, people are having a conversation about certain games going Xbox exclusive. And like, do we really care? Like, that's a question that popped into my mind. Do we care if some of these games that Activision, Blizzard, King has under their umbrella, do we care if they go Xbox exclusive, or like just be something that you have to have an Xbox or some kind of Microsoft account to access? For me, Overwatch 2, yes, I'll be like, man, what the fuck? I mean, I'll buy Xbox if it means I get to play Overwatch 2, but it's like, I don't want to have to do that. Like, I just want Overwatch 2 to come to my PlayStation like it was intended to, like I was expecting it to. But then you look at Call of Duty, I'm like, no, I don't give a fuck if it go Xbox exclusive. That's even more reason for me not to play it, because I could just tell people I don't have an Xbox, so I don't play Call of Duty. It's kind of like Halo. Like, it looks like a dope game or whatever, but I've never been enticed to play it because they never put it on PlayStation. It's always been an Xbox thing. So it's like, looks cool, but I don't really give a fuck. So sorry, I can't run Halo with you. Also, popping into my head, a question that I have: Will classic PS characters like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot reemerge with new games? Like, is Xbox, Microsoft going to use these very, very popular titles and characters to, bring us new games and content with them? Because if you think about it, Xbox don't really have no like claim to fame as far as their, I don't know, characters, like staple characters. Like, we know Spyro is a character that's pretty much synonymous with the PlayStation. Like, there's a time where you can only get Spyro games for a PlayStation, and the same thing with Crash Bandicoot. Like, those are marquee characters for a PlayStation. They are owned by Microsoft now, but still, like, you think about those classic games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, you're like, yeah, you had to play those on PlayStation. And then, you go over to Nintendo, Mario, Pokemon, like, those are their marquee titles. Zelda, like, they have characters and franchises that are like specifically tuned and dedicated to those companies or whatever. But Xbox don't really have that. So I'm thinking like, or I'm wondering, will them acquiring, those marquee characters like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, will that entice Xbox to be like, let's try to figure out a way to like really cash in on the nostalgia factor with these characters now that they're on Xbox. Like, we can breathe new life into them. We never played a Spyro game that's, Xbox exclusive. That might be really dope. So I don't know, just something that came to my mind. That they could also do something like Brawlhalla or Smash Bros, where you use Spyro and Crash and maybe some other characters that they've acquired and like have a battle royale style game. I don't know. These are just things that are popping into my mind as I'm digesting the news. But then that got me to thinking, like, what are some good ways for Sony to like respond to this? I already talked about, like some kind of partnership with Disney. I think that'll be a good response. But then I was also like, maybe they should like buy Ubisoft and like Take-Two Interactive, maybe Hi-Res Studios, or like partner with EA, or like buy Square Enix or whatever. Like, buy companies that also have a huge like stake in the gaming world. Ubisoft and Square Enix and stuff specifically, like those focus more towards RPGs, which have big franchises up under them, like Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy, which still has an extremely large communities because of the way they've been like spreading out their games and making them multiplayer and shit like that. And then you got EA, big step over there, Apex and shit. Hi-Res Studios is an up and coming indie developer that is making some pretty dope games like Road Company and shit like that. Like, maybe they should just put up the bag and try to get these companies to come up under their umbrella. Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of ways that they could honestly, respond in a way that'll give consumers some, peace of mind, or make them feel like, okay, so Sony is just not gonna like lay down and let Microsoft take over the gaming industry, especially in the States. Like, Sony wants to continue to run shit, so maybe they should make some moves like this to do that. Honestly, though, what I see happening, at least in the immediate future after the deal closes, if it closes, because it still has to go through some kind of like review and arbitration to like make sure there's nothing like funny style going on there. So if this, closes or whatever, honestly, I just feel like they're gonna push all of those titles into Game Pass or whatever, let people be able to access these games for free, via their $10.99 or $10 Game Pass subscription. However, and this is something that I ain't really seen a lot of people talking about, I feel like in them doing that, Game Pass is going to go up in price. Like, then the reason I'm saying that is because Microsoft just spent $70 billion to acquire these fucking studios and developers or whatever, and they're going to be pushing all of this stuff onto Game Pass. I mean, that makes the most sense. They haven't really announced that, but obviously, right? Because they want people to come to Xbox and, pay the $10 subscription to buy the Game Pass or whatever. So now that, Microsoft's stock just went up with the acquisition of these like incredibly large developers or whatever, I'm like, bruh, in the words of Fat Joe, yesterday's price is not today's price. I would not be surprised if in a year or two you see Game Pass creep on up every 3 months like Netflix. Like, oh, we got to raise the price another $1.29 on your ass. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. And by the time this shit is all said and done, Game Pass is not going to be $10 a month anymore. Will that like turn people away from it? Of course not. Like, people are going to still utilize the service. Like, there's going to be more games there. They're going to have content coming to Game Pass at release day. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of having to wait however long a Game Pass subscriber has to wait for something like Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty, to come to Game Pass for free, it'll be there at the launch of, the actual game. Unless, they still being funny style with that kind of shit. And like, no, we're going to make sure we get our copy sold first for all you tryhards out there. And then we'll put it on Game Pass for people who are just patient enough to wait a few weeks for it to be free before they jump on there and start trying to get dubs and make content and all kind of shit. So I don't know. I mean, Game Pass is a dope feature, but if Microsoft is spending $70 billion on Activision, Blizzard, King, with all of the trouble that Activision and Blizzard is currently in, with all of the titles that are going to come along with those houses of developers or whatever, like, I'm pretty sure Game Pass is going to go up in price for its subscribers. But outside of that, in terms of Sony, because everybody's like, what does this mean for Sony? What does this mean for Sony? Honestly, like, I just gave some ideas of what I feel like Sony could do or would do to combat this or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I don't really think Sony is going to like trip too hard about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still going to get PlayStation exclusive. There's still plenty of developers and gaming companies, both indie and like huge that you know of, that are still going to be making games for both systems. PlayStation is still going to get exclusives. And, if they're smart, like I'm thinking they are, they just going to lean more into the RPG side of things. Because like I said, the RPGs on PlayStation are bodying the RPGs that are Xbox exclusive. So I don't really see Sony like taking too much of a hit behind this, especially because the things that they have in place with Activision and Blizzard already have to remain in place because contracts. So, by the time things are void and Microsoft starts making, its plays or whatever to further distance itself from being compared to PlayStation and making it the number one console, like, I'm pretty sure by that time Sony will have an answer that's going to suffice. I do find it interesting though that like this kind of move does not necessarily threaten Nintendo at all. Like, people haven't really been bringing up Nintendo in the conversation. It's mostly been, what is PlayStation going to do? But Nintendo has also adapted some of these Activision Blizzard games onto the Switch, even though they haven't been receiving, very many reviews, because the Switch, quite honestly, is not a console that handles those kind of games very well with the controllers and shit, and just the overall processors and things inside of the console. Like, they don't play the same. But then on top of that, it's like Nintendo has such a hold on its fan base with the kind of content that it makes or whatever. Like, they have very, very strong partnerships with companies like Game Freak that, co-created Pokemon with them, and like Miyamoto with Donkey Kong and Mario. Like, they have such strong marquee characters and franchises underneath the Nintendo umbrella that it's like, okay, we'll let Sony and PlayStation play around with those gaming studios or whatever. We'll continue to be our own little niche in the gaming community that's not affected by it. I feel like that's dope and a testament to how smart and strategic Nintendo has been over all of these years with making sure they have their place in the gaming community, and nothing about that can shake it. Like, that's dope. All in all though, like, worst case scenario, what I see taking place, at least from my standpoint, or at least from a standpoint where I feel comfortable with the way things are, I feel like PlayStation is going to be the console that you get for exclusives and, you know, groundbreaking and just amazing RPGs. You'll get your Xbox for multiplayer games like Call of Duty and shit like that. And then you have your Nintendo for what you have your Nintendo for, your Switch or whatever. At least that will be me. Should things shift in a certain way, that would make me feel like, okay, I just have my PlayStation for my day-to-day and for my RPGs. I'll get me an Xbox so I can get the Game Pass and, you know, have access to whatever multiplayer game I want to. And then, you know, my Nintendo for my Pokemon games and, you know, Mario Kart and Mario Party and Super Smash Brothers and shit. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, if that's the way the gaming community or the gaming landscape is going to look in the future, thanks to this deal, like, I'm actually fine with that. I don't mind buying an Xbox so I can get Game Pass and do all that shit. And I don't mind making sure I keep up with whatever generation of PlayStation Sony wants to put out so that I can continue to have access to what I feel like are the best RPGs in the fucking gaming space. And, you know, I use my PlayStation for everything like Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max and Funimation. That's also a big thing that PlayStation did last year. They bought Crunchyroll from AT&T, I believe is the company that used to own it. And they're going to be merging it with Funimation, which they already own, to pretty much form the largest anime database for both sub and dubbed anime in the world. Like, that's dope. And I'm gonna make sure I have access to that app in whatever way I need to. Currently it's my PlayStation, but should things, you know, with this Activision deal make it only PlayStation, like, I'm down for that. Like, I don't care. I'm not a console kind of nigga. Like, I don't care about, oh, this one's better and this one's better. I'm cool with having the systems that I want to have. I'll keep getting PlayStations. Should I need an Xbox, I'll get an Xbox, and I keep getting Nintendo products. Like, I'm fine with having all three and using them for what I feel like they need to be used for. But yeah, that is where I'm at with the Activision Blizzard King acquisition by Microsoft Xbox. Like, I don't know. I was seeing all the commentary happening, all the conversations around it happening. And I was, like I said, as I'm digesting the news, like, these things pop into my head. And I'm like, you know what? I do need to cover this on my podcast because it's also a gamer podcast. So let me just bring it to y'all and see how y'all feel about it. Whenever I post the actual link and shit for this particular episode, y'all get in the comments and let's talk. Did I raise any questions or concerns with my thought process that makes you want to revisit how you feel about the situation? Or, like, how do you feel about it? Do you not really give a fuck? Is it something that you're like, oh, I'm scared for Sony? Like, get in my DMs, get in my comments or whatever, and let's talk about it. Outside of that though, just, you know, a brief update on everything else going on in the gaming world as far as I'm concerned, like the things that I play. I told myself that I was gonna get back into Rogue Company and, like, really try to stick with it and make sure I'm playing it just as much as I'm playing the Apex or Overwatch or whatever. I don't know if I'm actually gonna hold to that because I've been playing it the last couple of days or whatever, and the community in Rogue Company or whatever, like, there's some dope people or whatever. I see a few of my streamer friends or whatever, they're into the game or whatever, but, like, these randoms that I be getting, bro, like, they be ready to surrender the match for anything. You start losing by a few points or whatever, they want to surrender. I'm like, bro, like, just play the fucking game, bro. Like, I hate all these pussy ass gamers over in this Rogue Company community that are ready to hit that surrender button just because our team is down, as if you never seen a team come back from any kind of deficit as far as points are concerned. Like, just fucking play the game and enjoy it. If you surrender every fucking time you realize you're losing a match or whatever, like, how do you expect to get better? Like, just play through that shit, rely on your team or whatever, and like really try to win that shit. I really hate the surrender feature, and it's really like turning me off from the game because it's all these bitch ass players, bro. Like, as soon as it's looking a little dark for the team as far as, you know, grabbing the win is concerned, these motherfuckers be ready to surrender. Or if the team is like, nah, fuck that, we're not surrendering, we're gonna keep playing or whatever, they just fucking straight up leave the game, and now you're down a player or two because few of these little hoes or whatever got in their feelings about the fact that they can't hit their fucking shots, or they not getting picked up by their teammates or whatever. Or like, I don't know, it's really turning me off from the game. I don't really know if I'm gonna stick with it. And then on top of that, I like to play like competitive or ranked I guess modes or whatever when it comes to these kind of like online multiplayer games or whatever, because I feel like the people who play ranked and, you know, competitive modes or whatever, they actually are trying to win the game or whatever, and like work with the team, and they're playing to the best of their abilities or whatever to be a team player and pull out the win or whatever. But for Rogue Company, bro, Demolition, which is my least favorite Rogue Company mode, it's the only mode that has a ranked, you know, aspect to it. I don't want to fucking play Demolition, or definitely don't want to like do it on a ranked level. I skip Demolition every fucking time. Like, I play Strikeout, or I'll play 6v6 deathmatch or whatever, and they have a new mode in there that I haven't tried yet. I probably will try that before I completely write off the game, or not play it until they introduce a new character again. But yeah, I'm like, bruh, Demolition is the only mode that has rank, bruh. That shit, I don't like the Demolition mode. Like, and the players, the people that I play it with, like the randoms or whatever, they can't seem to understand the concept of like, fuck trying to get the eliminations off the enemy team, bro. Plant the bomb and protect that shit. Like, it'll be the person with the bomb is running around trying to kill the other team. That's like, bro, we can win the game if you plant the bomb on the fucking point and just guard it with the rest of the team. Like, why are you running around trying to kill everybody? But I don't know. Rogue Company is a dope game. They have some dope characters or whatever. I really like the animation style. Like, I like the game as a whole, honestly. But these weak ass like players in the community that love to quit at the drop of a hat, and then Demolition being the only game mode that has rank to it, I don't know, bro. It's turning me off. It's gonna probably just end up be something I play, like I said, whenever they drop a new character, or whenever I feel like doing something that's a little bit more chill, other than, you know, Overwatch or jumping on Apex or whatever. Because like I said, it's a fun game, so I enjoy playing it, but I don't know if I want to stick with it as much as I play Overwatch and Apex. Outside of that, I am going to dedicate a considerable amount of my time in 2022 trying to get back into Genshin Impact. Every time I see the trailers for the new characters that they drop in the game, I'm like, damn, I need to get back into this game. Like, I go on Twitch or whatever, I see streamers streaming the game. I'm like, damn, brother, shit, it still look far from when I used to play it or whatever. I need to get back into it. So I'm probably gonna do that. It has a RPG-esque feeling to it, like a massive online, like just open world feel to it. So I'm like, you know what, Genshin Impact was dope. I like the battle mechanics or whatever. I like the characters and the design of the game or whatever. So I'm gonna also try to get back into that. Outside of that, though, I keep mentioning Apex. That's because I'm pretty much back into it pretty heavy, pretty frequently. I was gone for a minute. Now I'm back with the jump off. Like, I'm really back into my Apex bag or whatever. Season 11 is about to come to a close in a couple of days, and then a couple of days after that, they rolling us right into season 12. We're getting a new legend by the name of Maggie. They haven't quite released Maggie's kit yet, as far as like what she'll be able to do in the game, but after watching her reveal trailer or whatever, her like stories from the Outlander or Outsider, whatever the fuck, stories from the Outland, I think it's called, whatever the fuck those things are called. her reveal trailer was fucking fire. I'm like, damn, Maggie's, she one of them she one of them gutter, like gully ass women, like she don't give a fuck. And I'm like, yeah, we need, the characters in this game tend to be like that. But I don't know, something about Maggie was like, all right, you know what I'm saying, I'm ready to see what the fuck she could do. Like, I'm ready for whatever season 12 is gonna bring, including Mad Maggie and her new abilities. So I'm excited for that. And then, at time of recording, Overwatch is getting ready to start its Chinese New Year lunar event thing that they do every year in celebration of the Chinese New Year. It is the year of the tiger this year. They've already released what Mercy's year of the tiger skin and what Tracer's year of the tiger skin is going to look like. I think tomorrow, or by the time they upload the actual, update to the game so that it could transition into the lunar event or whatever, I think they're going to reveal like the last two. If there's going to be even 4, I'm not even sure. But I'm excited. The event is going to be going on for at least 3 weeks. It's going to give me an opportunity to try to win all of these lunar event, skins and emotes and shit like that. I'm excited. I love when Overwatch puts new skins in the game. Like, you don't have to spend any real money on them. You can win all of the skins in the game as long as you, grind it out enough to get some in-game currency, which comes easy as fuck. They pretty much give it away. It's one of the reasons why I love this game so much. Like, the skins look amazing, and then on top of that, I don't gotta spend no real money on them. So I'm excited to jump into it when the update finally goes live, and I'm gonna be grinding my ass off to get these new skins because Tracer skin looks fire. Mercy skin looks dope too or whatever, but I ain't really a Mercy player. Like, I'll jump on some Tracer though. Like, I will play Tracer if I get on damage or if I'm in team deathmatch. Like, I will play Tracer. So I'm excited. Then outside of that, as far as Nintendo is concerned, Pokemon Arceus, I still don't know how to pronounce that name like correctly. I done seen multiple trailers put out by Nintendo and the Pokemon company themselves, and I'm still like, Arceus. I think that's Arceus. I think I'm saying it right, but I'm still on the fence. I don't know exactly how I feel about the game and if I'm going to go ahead and buy it. If I'm being honest, like, Pokemon Unite is like a great game. It takes up most of my time whenever I do decide to play a Switch game. At least at the moment, I still haven't beaten Pokemon Diamond just yet, which I also am going to be focusing more on that because I want to push through the story. It's one of the Pokemon stories that have been remastered for the Switch that I have actually not played. I've never played the Pokemon Diamond or Pearl like series when they was on the DS. So now that they're on the Switch and I'm getting this brand new story and I'm, getting acquainted with these new Pokemon or whatever, like, I want to finish the game. I want to beat all of the gyms and the Elite Four and all this other shit and really experience the story. So with that, I'm like, I'm Pokemon'd out at the moment. And then on top of that, like, Pokemon Arceus kind of looks like a Monster Hunter version of Pokemon Snap, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to fuck with it. I don't like the whole battle component for the game. It's like, why the fuck are you in an open world type of environment, a massive like map or whatever, and we still turn basing these Pokemon battles? Like, what the fuck is that? Why is it not like a more of a free roam kind of battle system? Why is it like, oh, if you decide to battle with your Pokemon or whatever, you step to the side and you do the same old turn-based battling that you've been doing in all of the Pokemon games? Like, why is it not like a more free roaming, fluid kind of, open world battle system like what you see in fucking Genshin Impact? Like, a lot of the reason Genshin Impact is as popular as it is as fun as it is as dope as it is because that battle system works really, really well for that big ass open ass world style like play map or whatever. Why they couldn't just do something like that? Why we gotta go back to fucking turn based again? And it's not even like the good looking turn based like what we got in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and Sword and Shield or whatever. It's literally like some, I don't even want to, because I sound like I'm bashing the game. I'm on the fence about it. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I am pretty sure that I'm going to be purchasing the new Rainbow Six Extraction game. I have some friends that I play Rainbow Six with whenever we're in the mood to do that. Extractions introduces this whole like alien zombie kind of element to the game or whatever. I've been hearing and seeing great reviews on it or whatever, so I'm really interested to team up with my dogs and try to knock some zombie heads off and try to stay alive, because Rainbow Six is like really real. Like, you get hit 2 times and they like, nigga, you're dead. And this ain't finna be like Call of Duty where you can take a couple shots and kind of duck off a little bit and heal up. It's like, nah, nigga, you hit, your ass on the ground, death. So I'm very interested in playing that. And with that, that is going to conclude this particular episode of the Talk and Play Blurredcast. Thank you so much for sticking with me. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Appreciate you listening to me rant and rave about these video games and shit. Like, I'm a big blurred for this shit, as I'm assuming you probably are if you listening to me and you made it this far. But yeah, like I said earlier in the episode, whenever I drop the link and the graphic for this particular episode on my Instagram and Twitter or whatever, jump in the comments. Let's talk about anything I covered in the episode. You know, my DMs are open. I don't mind having a conversation there as well. Like, I like talking to people online or whatever. It's cool. So feel free to reach out at BRIANSAPPH. And if you want to catch me on Twitch, it's demigod_Saf. I'll probably be streaming one of these games that I've mentioned throughout the course of this episode. And also, don't forget to head over to Nerds Rule the World over on YouTube or whatever to check out the checkpoint, you know, me and my homie Webster Style, as we cover all of the new releases in video gaming for the upcoming weeks and go a bit more in depth about some of these conversations that I tend to have on my Blurredcast, because me and Webster or whatever, it seems like we could talk about this shit all day. Our first episode ran way over the time that we had allotted for ourselves to do it, but it was a dope episode nonetheless. That's up on the YouTube channel right now, Nerds Rule the World. Yeah, that's it. I ain't trying to talk your ear off. I'll catch you on the next Blurredcast. Peace.